Good morning, afternoon, or evening, Cross Church family, depending on what time of day you're watching or listening to this. I'm Zach Kordic. I'm the youth pastor here at the Cross Church. I've mostly recovered over the past couple of days from Together Week, which we had last week. We shared this morning during our services a little about what our students studied and went over while we were at camp. And so tonight for our devotional, I just wanted to dive into that study a little bit more. If you don't know, the curriculum we used was called the Pause. And we defined pause all week as seeking God in silence and solitude through prayer and Bible study. And each day we took that and we sort of broke it down into each part. Right. We had a day about seeking God in silence and solitude, why prayer was important, why reading the Bible was important, and then why all of those things enable us to be ambassadors for Christ. And something that really struck me during this study, something that hit me, was how much our students have going on in their lives. So what I'm about to read to you is from our first small group session that we had on Tuesday morning. I wanted to just sort of throw some statistics at you guys about students, teens, and sort of the world that they live in, how full and busy it is, right? Because I know sometimes, even myself as a youth pastor, I think I am incredibly busy, and like I think back to when I was in high school, and it's like, well, I'm not busy at all. I wasn't busy at all then compared to how busy I am now, right? But I've got some stats I'm going to throw at you guys. This is based on research conducted on U.S. students, okay? The average teenage student has about 2.8 to 3.3 hours of homework on a typical weeknight and 3 hours on weekends. An average teenager will spend over 10 hours per week on extracurriculars. When it comes to the pressures at school that teens faced, 61% feel a lot of pressure to get good grades. 30% feel tense or nervous about their day. 29% feel a lot of pressure to look good. 28% feel the need to fit in socially. 21% feel pressured to be involved in extracurricular activities and good at sports. 50% see drug addiction or alcohol consumption as major problems among their peers. And 6% say they personally feel pressure to drink, and 4% feel pressure to use drugs. And that's just when they're at school or at work or at practice or, when they're out and about, right? But when they're not at those places or activities, then they have time to rest, right? They have time to recuperate. That is not the case. Fewer than 19% of teenagers report getting at least 8 hours of sleep, and fewer than 4% report getting at least 9 hours. 35% of teenagers say they are using at least one of the top 5 platforms or apps almost constantly. And when asked how they feel about the time they spend on social media, 53% of teens who almost constantly use at least one of those apps say they are on social media too much. So our teens, they know that they're using social media too much. They know that it's a problem for them. And beyond just those platforms and apps, recent surveys find that the vast majority of American teens between the ages of 13 and 17, they have unlimited access to multiple digital devices, such as smartphones. 95% say they have access to that. Computers, 90% say they have access to a computer. And gaming consoles, 80% say they have unlimited access to a gaming console. And we're not even done yet, right? I want to throw some more stats at you. Percentages of teenagers who say the following issues are a major problem among others their age and in the communities where they live. 70% say that anxiety and depression are a major issue among their peers or their communities. 55% say bullying is a major problem. 51% say drug addiction is a problem. 45% say drinking is a problem. 40% say poverty is a problem. 34% say teen pregnancy is a problem. And 33% say gangs are a problem. And I throw all this at you not to discourage you, but so that you understand what they're facing, right? Because they're not just facing this, right? Like, it's not just this that they have to contend with. It's all this other stuff, right? And so, of course, as an adult, it's easy to say, well, they should be setting aside time for this stuff anyway. But then I have to think and consider to myself, am I doing that? Am I seeking God in silence and solitude? Because, I read my Bible every day. The first 15 or so minutes of my day, when I first wake up, before my feet hit the floor, before I check my phone, I get up and I read scripture, because I know, well, if I don't do it now, then I'm probably not going to get to it throughout the course of the day, right? So I need to do this first. And I think it's great that that's a priority for me, but then I have to ask myself, okay, am I truly seeking God in silence and solitude? Or am I doing this because I want to do it, because it's a priority for me, but am I doing this so that I can get this out of the way, right? Because I know that if I don't do it, I won't get to it later, so I need to just do it first, and then I can get to the other stuff that I really need to do, right? Because rushing through scripture and rushing through prayer, it gets you by, right? But that's not what it's meant to be, right? That's not what we're meant to do. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, I think there are probably very few of us who set aside specific time during the day and say, okay, God, these next 30 minutes are for you and me, right? These next 30 minutes are for me to be alone, to not have this on me or have it silenced, right? For me to be in prayer with you, for me to listen to you for when you respond to me, for me to meditate on and mind scripture, right? And I want you all to know I'm preaching to myself here, right? Like this is something I struggle with. And I've come a long way from where I was 2 or 3 years ago, when I wasn't praying at all and I wasn't reading my Bible at all, right? I'm doing a lot better than I used to be. You would hope so, right? I would hope so. But if I'm being honest, I'm not doing it the way I should be doing it, right? And I think that's how it is for a lot of us adults who we've got jobs, or we've got kids, or we've got grandkids, or, we're supporting this sports team or this extracurricular activity, or we're carpooling, or, we run a lot of things at work outside of our normal responsibilities. We're busy, right? There's a lot of stuff that needs to get done, and somebody's got to do it, right? But I think one of the reasons our students struggle to set aside that time of solitude is because they don't see us modeling it, right? They don't see us doing that. They hear us talk about it, right? They hear us talk about it, but then, if they ask us, well, I'm, this week I've got these 50 things to do, and so, I'll get to it. God will understand, right? And they see that. They know it. They know, right? They don't not know if it's not a priority for us. Does that make sense? They know if we are making that a priority or not. And as I said this morning in service, you can't teach what you don't know. So that's sort of my challenge to you and to myself as we move forward in this sort of post-camp space, which easier for me to be in than for you if you didn't go. Sorry. But are we intentionally setting aside time to seek God in silence and solitude? Are we intentionally putting away all distractions so that we can spend time with God? Because our students, they're going to model what they see, right? And if they see that it's not a priority for us, it's probably not going to be a priority for them. That's what I want to leave you with. I love you, church. I'm very grateful for you. I hope that this is not discouraging for you, but encouraging, right? This is not meant to be guilt or shame. This is meant to be, all right, this is important to me. This is important that my kids or my grandkids or our students see that this is a priority for me, right? And I'm going to be the first one to say, I need to do better. Love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful week. God bless.